So I wanted to come through and I wanted to discuss a little something, something. When you come from a place of knowing inside of you, I'm not talking about, regurgitating what other people say. I'm talking about when you come to your own conclusions that are not based upon things you read in a book, but things that you just have an innate knowing about. That's true motherfucking wisdom. And when you're able to expound upon that, that is the knowledge. Wisdom and knowledge go hand in hand. The wisdom comes from the feminine, the knowledge comes from the masculine. And I have a knowing inside of me. Now, I do read books. I do educate myself and feed my ego, of course. I read books and stuff like that. But I also get channels and I get information. And it's not very hard for me to get that information. And I'm just saying that before I begin talking about this video. I am a form of Tahuti, which also ties into other deities as well that I'm not going to get into, but I'm a form of Tahuti. So I see and know just about everything that's going on in the motherfucking omniverse. Let me say it like that. We have two sets of DNA. Yeah, we do. We have the physical DNA, which can connect you to, for example, if you commit a crime, you will be able to be tracked if you leave some form of DNA behind. DNA is in everything. It's in your blood, it's in your spit, it's in your hair follicles, it's in everything. It's in your nails. If you leave any part of your body part behind, a nail, fluid, they can find DNA in that and they can track and trace who you are. That's physical DNA. And I'm only talking about melanated dominant people. I'm only talking about the melanated dominant people, niggas. But then there's another form of DNA. And I like to call it divine natural anatomy. That part of our DNA, see, we have two sets of DNA. Niggas. We have the divine natural anatomy and we have our physical DNA. The divine natural anatomy, which is the non-physical part of our DNA, let's just say that. That is why people are so pissed with niggas. Because they understand, those people who have this understanding, they understand that we can reanimate ourselves when we're no longer in a motherfucking body. Let me say that again. We can reanimate ourselves, meaning we can reanimate and incarnate back into the physical if we choose to. That is what our DNA can do for us. Now, the divine natural anatomy, which is the non-physical part of our DNA, that is the part of our DNA that's connected to soul source. That is the key and the gateway to our soul. Because that part of that DNA, which has nothing to do with the physical DNA, the physical DNA is just a replica of that DNA which resides in us. That DNA, the divine natural anatomy, the spiritual DNA, or the non-physical DNA, that is connected to your soul. And that holds all of the information through time and space. I know time and space is an illusion, but I'm just saying that for layman's terms. That holds all of the information from all of your incarnations to everything you need to know about yourself. And see, that is one of the things that the others, do not have access to. They don't have divine natural anatomy. Most of them do not. Others do not. And the reason they don't have it is because they don't have enough melanin. See, melanin is in your DNA as well. Melanin makes up every motherfucking cell in your body, including your pineal gland. Melanin is a biochemical substance that you can find in any and every motherfucking thing. Water, trees, plants, dirt, everywhere. So when you transition, a lot of people say, oh, it's nothing but nothingness or darkness. Well, you have to remember a few things. You're not looking at things through physical eyes anymore. You're looking at things as they really are in the quantum reality. So when you transition, your DNA, not your physical DNA, but your spiritual DNA is still very much active. I remember I read a scientific report one time where they even talked about this. They said that long after a body dies, the cells are still active trying to find a way to reanimate themselves. They're still active, meaning that they're still alive. They're talking about they're talking about the divine natural anatomy. They're talking about the spiritual aspect of your DNA. It causes a response in the physical DNA, and it makes it look like those cells in that DNA is trying to reanimate itself, because that's what it does. It reanimates itself, and that is how you get what people call reincarnation. It's not really reincarnation. Reincarnation is something different that I'm learning about. That's something different. Reincarnation is when a person turns into another person, or they are, let's just say, injected with another person's energy or another person's soul, and they become that person. That's reincarnation. Okay, so there's a difference. And I may not be saying it all the way correct, but y'all get what the fuck I'm saying. Reincarnation is different from what we call reanimation. Reanimation back into the physical, that is done through your DNA. And that is a powerful motherfucking thing. Although, being born into the physical world, that's a low vibrational thing, but no one has control over that process but you and your fucking mind. And you are your fucking mind. So one of the things that happens a lot of times is that we get distracted. And we get distracted from our power and what the fuck that we can really do. And we're told that, oh no, this person has control over you, and that person has control over you, and this and that. But in actuality, you control whether you want to come back into this motherfucking matrix again. Nobody else. You reanimate yourself. I know that is a hard thing hard concept to really swallow. But it's all about reanimation. I remember I was reading this book called The Convoluted Universe. So it was a pretty good book too, written by a hypnotherapist named Dolores Cannon. She died a few years back. And she was talking about DNA and the color of cells and the color of DNA. And she said something very interesting, how the colors of DNA were a dark, dark purple. I think there was yellow, there was red. There were different color codes of our DNA. She was talking about our genetics as black people. Okay, there's even a part of the DNA that has a white color. Okay, and that's not abnormal to hear. But all of these colors are connected to us, and each color, from what I gather, each color represents a different state of consciousness, and it has a different vibration to it. I can't remember everything because I have to read the book again. It was a fascinating book, and I was very intrigued by the things that she had to say. But the power of our DNA is absolutely unlimited, and when we transition, and even when we go to sleep at night, we're tapping into not just your subconscious mind, but you're also tapping into your divine natural anatomy, which is your DNA, which is the gateway to your soul. You're tapping into that as well. And that is where you get, the superheroes and all of that other shit, all of that shit that they show. They're talking about our DNA and our genetics. I've had dreams where they weren't really, let me stop saying dreams because they were not dreams, they were travels. I'm going to stop saying dreams. But for layman's terms, dream. Let me just say dream for layman's term. I've had dreams and experiences where I'm flying through black holes, or what they call black holes in outer space. That's not really what they are, but that's what they call them, and I'm going to call them that. I'm not going to break down the science behind that. Yeah, I can, but I don't feel like getting into that. But black holes in outer space, connecting into other dimensions, connecting with my soul. So you have to know what you know. You can't allow other people to destabilize what you know, because that's what they do, because a lot of people are insecure about what they fucking know. So they'll come along and try to destabilize what you know. I know what I know. And I know that the DNA that we talk about on a physical level, that's only one part of our DNA. Some people even call it cell memory. And that is when cells, not physical cells, but non-physical cells that are attached to our bodies or attached to our energy, when we incarnate into each life, those cells stay with us. And they carry information about who we are, our past lives, etc., etc. You know? Some people may even connect that to the Akashic records. You see, I have actually tapped into my Akashic records. I've seen them. I've seen them. It looks like, and I can describe what it looks like too. The Akashic records, for me, it looked like a big map of hieroglyphs. Mine were it was absolutely amazing. It was like a big map of hieroglyphs, and each one of them had a handprint on them that was symbolic of all of the previous lives that I've had. Those were all of the past lives that I lived. Each handprint was symbolic of that. You see, and I went into some of my past lives, and my subconscious mind was communicating this to me because I asked for it. Okay, all you have to do is ask. All you have to do is ask for it, and you can get what you need from your own mind. So I don't have to go to other people to help me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because I had good coaches to show me how I can do what I need to do for my motherfucking self. I'm not saying that I may never need somebody. I would never say that, because I'm always open to learn if the shit makes sense. And if it doesn't involve worshiping anybody, because I'm a deity my goddamn self, I don't worship other fucking deities. That's me. Anybody else can feel however they want. But the DNA has a lot of power. The divine natural anatomy, that's what I call it, has a lot of power. And we can reanimate ourselves. And the science of that is so far-fetched that what I'm saying probably sounds like something science fiction, because those who really understand it, they're not going to put it out there, of course, and they're not going to tell you exactly, what the motherfucking, what the tea is. They ain't going to tell you what it is. But one of the reasons that black people are hated so much is because we have the ability to reanimate ourselves. We have we have everlasting life. We literally have everlasting life, not in physical bodies. See, when people talk about immortality, they are symbolically, any show or any movie where they're talking about immortality, they're talking about unlocking the powers of the DNA. That is symbolically what they're talking about. Unlocking the powers of your DNA. They're talking about our DNA and our fucking genetics. And the melanin that gives us everlasting life. Everlasting life is not about living forever in a physical body. Everlasting life is about existing, having an eternal existence despite not having a body. And that is why so many people are jealous of black people, in a sense. And I'm only talking about the people that are in positions of power. That is why they do everything they possibly can to try to distract us with clowns like Donald Trump, They try to throw out coons and representatives to speak for us, to keep us distracted and to keep people distracted because they don't want us tapping into our divine natural anatomy, because there you will find unlimited power. That is connected to your soul. And if you connect to your motherfucking soul, game motherfucking over for them. Game over. So I just wanted to come through and I wanted to drop this little nugget, this little gold nugget, and just talk about that, because it was on my mind and I just wanted to speak on it. Divine natural anatomy equals your soul. And that never dies for us. For us, that never dies. So again, eternal life is not about living forever in a physical body. It's living forever despite not having one. And our DNA makes that possible for us. And that is why they fucking mad. And that is why they're doing every motherfucking thing they can to create chaos, confusion, delusion, illusion, and every motherfucking thing else, because they're trying to stop us from rising, our consciousness expanding and rising, so we can tap back into who the fuck we really are. We have 66 trillion years of information locked and coded in our fucking DNA that we don't even have access to. That we don't even have access to. But you can learn how to. I know how to access my shit. Let me just say that. I know how to access my shit. I'm not getting into it on here how to do it, but I'm just talking about it. Anyway, that's all I really have to say for right now. Hit me up on Patreon if you're looking for any type of spiritual consultation. And that's all I really have to say.